Welcome to the latest midweek car competition judging video here at BOTB. We'd now like to hand over to today's lawyer from Onside Law, who'll oversee the proceedings.
My name's Charlie Hanson from Onside Law, and I'll be overseeing the judging this morning. Firstly, I can confirm that the competition data has already been sent to the auditing company Assets. I would now like today's judges to introduce themselves and, using the secure link provided, mark on the screen where they think the centre of the ball should be. The group will then come to a final panel decision.
Good morning, my name is Matt Cannon. I'm a senior county referee and footballer.
Good morning, my name's Andy Braithwaite and I'm a football referee, mentor and licensed observer.
I'm Nigel Hicks. I've been a Supply League match official for the best part of 30 years and I'm an experienced football administrator.
My name's Liam Walsh. I'm currently an FA observer, a retired referee and head coach for the Middlesex Referees Academy.
My name is Chloe Morgan and I'm goalkeeper for Crystal Palace Women.
Good morning, my name's Roger Wheeler. I'm a referee and I've been refereeing and lining for more than 30 years.
Hi, my name is Ari Mendonca. I've been involved in football for over 30 years, firstly as a player and then as a referee.
Hi, I'm Joe Thompson, former professional footballer and now your BBC presenter for Squad Goals.
Good morning, my name's Peter Giorgio and I'm a football and futsal referee.
Hi, I'm Jenna Scalacci, retired professional footballer. I'm now a head coach on a Tottenham football programme.
Judges, please now come to a final panel decision. For your reference, the larger white cross is the calculated average of the 10 individual selections.
Thanks, Charlie. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Morning, Matt.
So we've got 3 players in shot. 2 players on the left of the pictures who are looking at it are just on looking. We can see one of the guys' face looking towards the play. And the player in blue seems to be sort of in motion, one arm up, one arm back. And I think he's just about to come and head the ball. I'll draw some lines up. We're obviously, I think, of a pretty same opinion amongst us all about the way he's looking up. It's quite a small area. Sort of small quadrant up from this player, and obviously, but the spread is myself closest and Chloe's furthest away. So I'll start with myself. I put myself close as I have here, just because I thought his facial expression, his mouth open, his brow is sort of furrowed, that he was just about ready to play it, just like a little nudge header on. But first, I'll come to you, Chloe. You're at the opposite end to my own choice. There you are, your orange cross. What was your view?
Yeah, so I think obviously I felt quite similarly to the majority of my colleagues from the blue players' eye line, that it was quite steeply looking up. Like you said, his forehead's quite furrowed. It looks to me like he's crouching down, or there's some kind of spring maybe that's going to happen. So I think when I was looking at the red player's eye line, obviously he's in the background. We're not too sort of clear how far away he is, but I'd noticed that the red player isn't that blurry, so I don't think he's too far away from where the blue player is. But to me, even though his head is fairly level, his eye line, if you sort of go to his eyes, if you just hover over his eyes, you can kind of, to me, it looked like he was facing just slightly above horizontal.
Oh, sorry, the player in red, yeah. The
player in red, yeah. So I think I took his eye line just slightly higher than the other judges, and taking it in the context of the blue player, that he still had sort of some element of a spring left or some action to take. I felt the ball was slightly further away than the rest of my colleagues, but yeah, those are my thoughts.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. And Andy, you're just to the left of Chloe's, your green cross above. You're sort of in line with me. I mean, I had a view that you could see a little bit of white under this pupil, but how did you reach your decision on this?
Thanks, Matt. Pretty much a mixture of what the two of you first have said there, yourself and Chloe. In regard to the fella in blue, I feel that anything for me north of the average works. But on the other hand, what you said about the eye line to me that's your spot in line, and the majority of the colleagues are all looking in the same direction there. But I must say what Chloe just said there regarding the guy behind in red, he is a little bit in the distance and he's looking quite flat. So from where the way that the picture is shown, it looks as if he's head and shoulders above the others, but it's because he's in the distance. The guy in blue for me is stooping, but I think that the guy in red is looking fairly horizontal or just above horizontal, and that's why I've placed my green cross for my centre of the ball.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll just come down, we're sort of lined up in pairs almost. Liam, yours the blue cross there in the midst of it all. What was your view?
Yeah, good morning, Matt. I didn't really take anything from the body language, first of all, of the blue. I couldn't make out whether he was going to kick it, whether he was going to chest it, going to try and head it, or what. There was no real clue there for me. So I worked on head angles and eye lines. So blue, eyes up, the white can be seen, been mentioned. His eyebrows are raised, so it gives him a better vision line, looking steeply. And regards red, I took quite a lot from him because he's standing still for me, and I got his eye line as he said, just tilted slightly to the left, and he's looking just off horizontal for me, and that's where the X falls.
Yeah, thank you. And Jenna, I'll come to you next. You're the pink one, just because you're just absolutely slap bang next to Liam's. Your view?
Yeah, I wasn't sure either what the player in blue was about to do, whether he was scrambling across to meet it with his head. So I took the player in blues from his eyes. I didn't see too much white. So I've just literally went from the top of his eyelid and the bottom of his pupil to get that rough guide there. And I've taken from the player in reds, I felt his head was slightly tilted to the left and kind of looking over. And that's how I've made that's where I've come to put my cross. I also just took a bit from the number 9 in red, just from kind of his eye. Not that you could see his eye, but the direction of his head. And that's where I've come from.
Yeah, I mean, I've just drawn another cross up from what you were saying, and it passes through Nigel's, yours, and Chloe's. So there seems to be some definite lines up from this player in blue, whose eye line, whether it's higher or lower, which is quite interesting. I'll come to you next, Ari. You're in the midst of everything in the middle of the main cluster here. Your light blue cross. I'll just highlight yours. How did you see this?
Thanks, Matt. Well, I felt that the player in blue is getting out of the pickle of those two players in red. He's getting out. He's moving fast, and I think he's going to just give a little touch with his head to the ball and take the ball out of there and try to do something afterwards. When I looked his body language, his movement, so his head is slightly tilted back, and his eye line, so he's frowning as well in eye line. I think he's at the same direction as just what Jenna said as well. And I felt the player in red behind him that is looking to the play is looking flat, and I would say just a tiny bit below horizontal. That's why when I drew my lines, I felt that the central ball should be there.
Yeah, I'll draw another line from his forehead, and sort of there is a split again, really.
Yeah, because even we see his shoulders is slightly inclined to his left. His head is well slightly twisted to his left as well. So I felt probably not completely horizontal, but just a tiny bit below that.
Yeah, great, thank you. And Peter, you're the lime green cross there, magnified just to the right of Aries. Your thoughts?
Yes, I agree with the majority of the panel there so far in regards to the blue player. I'm not too sure exactly what he was doing. I think if the ball was closer, I think his facial expression would be more of a wince. The fact that he's frowning and looking, that's why I put the distance a bit further away than some of my colleagues there. And then what Ari was just alluding to there with the player in red looking in, but his body is twisted looking down, but just slightly off the horizontal, and that's exactly where I put my intersection of those two eye lines, and that's where I put the centre of the ball.
Yeah, thank you. And we've got the last three judges at the bottom here. I'll go right to left to look at the picture. Joe, yours is the sort of pink cross there. I'll put the magnifier over yours. What was your view on this?
Yeah, I have to echo what a lot of my colleagues have said there. But for me, the player in blue looks like he's on the turn. He's maybe controlled it and it's slightly gone higher. And, his eyebrows are raised, like Liam mentioned. And with that white underneath his pupils, I just think the ball's in the air, but is potentially coming down. And the two on-looking players in red are almost more assessing. And for me, the real obvious question was the distance the ball is between the blue player. And I've guessed just because his facial expressions suggest that it's quite imminent, but it's not going to be there like straight away, like was mentioned before about the wincing.
Yeah, great. Thank you. And Roger, you're just ever so slightly to the left of Joe's. Yours, the purple cross magnified there. How did you reach your decision? There you are.
Yeah, pretty much. Thanks, Matt. Pretty much like Joe. I felt the blue player was actually sort of bursting away from the markers. The ball was dropping in, and he's close to heading it. He's stretched. His arm is out. His brow is a little bit furrowed, and he's just basically lost the markers there, and he's going to sort of throw himself and head that ball away. As far as the player in red, I also felt he's sort of leaning slightly to his left, and therefore his eye line was just below horizontal. So that's where my cross got to the intersection of those two.
Yeah, thank you. And lastly, Nigel, there you are, your yellow cross.
Yep.
What was your view?
I found myself a little bit on the horns of a dilemma that I felt the facial expression of the blue player. It didn't suggest that he was about to head it. And nonetheless, I felt the intersection of the eye lines brought it a bit below the horizontal, as though the ball was quite close to him. So I even wondered if he'd already headed it and he was chasing it out or following on up after it. But I felt the player, I took a lot from the player in red in the background there. I felt his head is tilted to the left, as people have said. I also feel you can see a bit at the top of his head. And that's why I felt he was possibly looking down a little bit. And so, yeah, I felt the intersection of the lines brought it fairly close to the player in blue. But as I say, I think he may have already touched it and be on his way out.
Yeah, so it's quite interesting. I mean, I thought it was close because I thought he was just about to head it. I take the points that Peter and others have made about if he was just about to head it, maybe he'd be wincing. But also Joe has pointed out that, and also Liam, that we don't actually know whether the ball's bounced, he's played it. So it's quite an interesting picture, and obviously his motion taking, maybe trying to get the ball under control and running with it also may be possible. So we have the calculated average in the middle here, and I've drawn these three lines from each player's eye lines. And as we see, we're sort of split with, I suppose there's 7 of us above the middle line from this player in blue. And there's a sort of a rough split of 4 above, 4 below, and 2 in line with the player from red, which brings us to this calculated average. As we've done in the past, when people are wholly outside the magnifier, I will remove them. So I will, as lead judge, remove myself and Chloe's. And as we see, it brings it again into not exactly the same position, but roughly the same position. And as we can see, again, from the red player, we've got 2 choices in the middle in line, 3 above that and 3 below, which gives us a good split. And again, up from this player in blue, we've still got the majority above the eye line with Joe and Rogers below. But if I put the magnifier over the top of this new calculated average, you see it encompasses everyone bar Nigel. If I remove Nigel's, it becomes a little bit more central. So I'm going to ask you for a panel vote to whether we ought to remove Nigel's as well as my own and Chloe's, which I've done, and we're not going to vote on. So if I could come to you first, Andy, and please add anything that you further want to say, or if you want to see someone removed and how it changes the average, that's absolutely fine.
Oh, thanks, Matt. Again, how we normally judge, I fully understand, but on this occasion, I feel that the yellow cross for me is quite feasible for his eye line, so I'd keep it in.
Keep it in. Thank you very much. We won't come to you, Nigel. Liam?
I am going to ask for Nigel to remain, please, Matt, and I will say that because of this, the line that you've drawn through Nigel's and extending out to, I think it's Jenna's just next to my own, and it goes straight smack bang through the average. So you're talking about just that millisecond wherever the ball would be. I think it's credible, and I think it needs to stay.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thanks for the explanation. Chloe, I know I've removed you, but please add your thoughts. I mean, if I actually put yours back in from what Liam has just said, you said, as you can see, you go straight through that eye line as well. So that's important to note.
Yeah, absolutely. I think my vote would be to remove Nigel. I think removal of Nigel's cross also brings the average slightly further up to where I thought my cross was, which is slightly higher in line with the red player's eye line. So I'd vote to remove. Yeah,
absolutely understand that. Roger?
I would leave Nigel in because I think the guy is actually quite close to playing the ball, and he's sort of close to my cross. So I'd leave Nigel in.
Great, thank you. Ari?
I would leave keep the cross of Nigel, because I felt that the average where it is, and he's still inside of the zoom area, and when the cross is close to the zoom, I don't really like to take it off, so I would keep it in.
Yeah, thank you. Joe?
Yeah, I would keep it in, but go back to the point that I made before. It's the distance away from the player, which is a difficult one, but it is on line with the average. But I do think if it was a bit closer, he would be wincing, but I'd keep it in for me.
Yeah, great, thank you. Peter?
Yeah, I'll keep it in, even though if it was removed, it comes closer to my one by a fraction or so. But I think the average works well with Nigel's in.
Great, thank you. And lastly, Jenna.
I would remove, just because I don't feel that the ball is that close. His facial expressions to me don't show that it's that imminent. But so I'd remove, and it would take it closer to my own cross.
Yeah, absolutely right. Okay, thank you very much. So Charlie, we've come to a panel decision to vote with this calculated average, with the panel voting to keep Nigel's cross in by quite a large majority of 7-2, and my own decision as lead judge to remove myself and Chloe's, as we were outside the calculated average bubble, so to speak, the cluster.
Thanks, Matt. So yeah, if you're all happy, then please click submit. Thank you, judges. So the coordinates selected are 30291720. These coordinates will be passed to the auditing company assets to calculate the winner of the competition, and they will then inform BOTB. That concludes the judging process. Thank you.